Now to discuss is former senior policy advisor to President Trump and current policy director with America First, Curtis Ellis. And Curtis, this book has a lot of people talking in D.C. It makes some serious allegations against President Trump, including this one, that he had asked President Xi of China to help him win the 2020 election, and him saying that journalists are scumbags and should be executed. Now, if we recall, Bolton had said in the past that he would lie to protect American national security if he had to. Do you think he's lying in the book right now?
Well, if he wasn't lying, that would be a real change of character for John Bolton. This guy can't be believed. He's not credible on any front. People who were in the room with John Bolton and President Trump with that meeting with President Xi, they say they have no recollection of that ever happening. They never heard anything like that. This is a guy who's managed to absolutely shred any last fiber of credibility he might have had left. He trashed George W. Bush after working for George W. Bush. President Trump gave him a chance to, rehabilitate himself, and then he just does it again. It's really amazing to watch the Democrats who have consistently just slammed this guy for being the warmonger that he is, now suddenly trying to elevate him as some type of paragon of credibility. It really shows how people are willing to twist themselves into pretzels in order to get Trump. They'll do anything. They'll even invest themselves with John Bolton, who is really an unrepentant liar and an unreconstructed warmonger. It's amazing.
But Curtis, he was in the room where it happened, right? And we see all these mainstream media outlets reporting this book and excerpts of it that they've come in contact with as bombshells against the Trump administration.
It's amazing. There's one excerpt I read. I have the book. This guy's not going to make a nickel on the book. If the government doesn't confiscate it, there are already PDF copies of this thing floating around. I don't think anybody's going to buy the book. He's not going to make any money. So his whole mission, like so many of the other missions that John Bolton has launched, this one's going to be a complete failure. He's one of the neocons who got us into the war in Iraq, one of the greatest blunders in American history. He wanted to destroy the UN, so I don't know why the Democrats would like that. And he wanted, so in one of these excerpts, he's saying, this is a crisis. President Trump has proven himself to be the most irrational person on earth. He won't bomb Iran. I want to bomb Iran because they shot down an unmanned drone. It's time to go to war. And President Trump said, no, I don't think so. People elected me because I said I wouldn't get us involved in endless wars. And John Bolton pulls DEFCON 5. This is like the end of the world here because we're not going to bomb Iran. There are enough wars going on. We don't need another one. I like that introduction, what he's saying to Martha Raddatz, where he's saying that everything he says about President Trump really applies to John Bolton. He's erratic. He sees conspiracy theories behind every rock, and he's been a complete failure. You look at all of his policy recommendations, he's probably right next to Joe Biden as being wrong on every foreign policy issue. Those two would make a great pair. They're both wrong all the time. Well, you want to know what to do? Listen to what John Bolton says, listen to what Joe Biden says, and do the opposite.
Interesting political advice there from you, Curtis. I do want to play for you another soundbite from that interview. He did say that he will not be voting for Trump in November, but he also said that he won't vote for Biden. Listen to this.
I don't think he's a conservative Republican. I'm not going to vote for him in November. I'm certainly not going to vote for Joe Biden either. I'm going to figure out a conservative Republican to write in.
How do you think history will remember Donald Trump?
I hope it will remember him as a one-term president who didn't plunge the country irretrievably into a downward spiral we can't recall from. We can get over one term. 2 terms I'm more troubled about.
All right, the fear of the 2-term Trump presidency. Does John Bolton win any friends over from the publication of this book?
No, he's actually lost whatever few friends he had left. Maybe he's got Bill Kristol on his side still. There's another dead-ender, another unrepentant warmonger who has absolutely no power and very few friends. So the two of those, they could be the Bobbsey twins of the neocon movement in Washington. But even the Democrats are starting to pull away from him. They're realizing, you know, I don't want to be associated with this guy. I don't care if he doesn't like Trump, but we don't need him. I'm glad he said he's not voting for Joe Biden, because I think that Joe Biden would have said, no, please keep your vote. This is the kiss of death. We don't want it.
Interesting. All right. Again, that book scheduled to come out tomorrow. You said you've got a copy of it. Interesting stuff in there. Of course, good to have your interpretation of all the text in that as well. Curtis Ellis, thanks for joining us today on the program.
Thank you.
Coming up, CHOP.